Welcome to RVCast. In June of 2024, we held the inaugural RV convention. And today, we're excited to revisit an episode from that enormously successful event. Get ready for insights, tips, and inspiring stories from our special guests. And enjoy this informative episode as we dive into the world of RVing. Hello and welcome back to another segment of the RV Convention. I'm your host, Dave Stanley, coming to you from the cab of the Stanley Streamer. And this episode features Kimberly Crossland, consummate family travel with incredible insight into finding creative ways to making a living on the road. Kimberly is a best-selling author and the founder of Roadpreneur and Cruisin and Campfires, two companies designed to keep families together and living in freedom through travel and entrepreneurship. Both businesses aim to inspire meaningful change through the power of a strategic, thoughtful approach to life and business. And you can find her always looking for a new adventure with her two boys in her free time. Kimberly, it's such a pleasure to have you. Thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I love talking about the RV lifestyle.
Oh, that's so great. And speaking of the RV lifestyle, give us a little bit of history about you and like what did you do before your adventures into RVing?
Yeah, so what's interesting is my very first introduction to the RV lifestyle was when I was a kid. My grandpa had a Westphalia van, and we used to go and play in that van all the time. We'd go up to the Grand Canyon, we'd travel and camp all over Arizona. That's where I grew up. And it was just so much fun. Well, one time my grandparents wanted to do a big family reunion. And so they went and they rented a bigger Class A RV. And my poor grandma got so overwhelmed with the whole process of it. She said, I can't do it. We can't even hit the road. We had to go take the RV rental back. I was so devastated. Well, fast forward, after that, we took planes to go travel different places. I traveled internationally primarily. I didn't actually see much of the United States growing up. And instead, what I did was I went and explored, actually lived abroad for a long time. And then when I settled down, got married, we had our children, my husband, who grew up traveling the RV lifestyle, said, we need to get an RV. And so I thought, I don't know, I'm a little bit nervous about it because, my grandma had that whole bad experience when she was renting it. And he convinced me, and I'm so glad that he did, because that first maiden voyage that we took with our boys, we had a 4-month-old and a 1-year-old at the time. So you can imagine we were already having sleepless nights. So we just went and we had sleepless nights and were gorgeous. And it was fun and I was hooked. We only did one night for our maiden voyage. We had intentionally planned just to do one night. We're only about a half an hour away from our house. And after that one night, I thought, we need to start booking. We got home. We booked more trips. We booked not only close by in southern Arizona, but we started to book in Colorado. We started to look into Texas. And since then, that's what we've done is we've just expanded where we travel with our kids. We happily and unapologetically will take them out of their school. We're actually doing that this very weekend. I told the teachers, I said, taking my boys camping. We're taking them out of school. And they're so supportive of it. It's one of the perks of being very public and vocal about your RV life. No one's surprised when you say that you're going to go take your kids on the road. So now we travel, like I said, as often as possible. We don't mind going midweek when there's fewer people on the roads. It's fun just to be able to live very flexibly and now be able to see more of the United States, which I didn't get to see as much of growing up.
Oh, that's so fantastic. And so would you consider yourself more of when you head out on a camping trip to go to a campground, or are you more of a getaway and be out in the wide open and with less people?
All of the above. There's no right or wrong way to do it. So our last trip before the one we're about to take, we went up to Moab and we were there for a week and we camped out at a KOA. We loved the experience. We had a beautiful campsite that opened up. We got to see the Red Rocks. We also had a pool at the campground, all the amenities. There's lots of kids there. So my boys were very, very happy because they love to have friends around. They're now 6 and 8 years old. But this weekend, we're just going to go out, just the 4 of us, and go. I don't know if we're going to have cell phone service. We'll find out when we get there, but it's just out in the middle of nowhere. We got our coordinates. So a few friends have traveled there and camped there recently and they thought it was great. So we're going to go experience it for ourselves. So we like to do both.
That sounds fantastic. And this is the time to do it now because Tucson, Arizona is going to get super hot, super quick.
It absolutely is. Well, that's the time we leave more often, actually. We try and hit the road even more.
Right.
So, yeah, we're staying close to home for right now for this particular trip, just heading down to Sonoyta, Patagonia region. And then in the summertime, we already have trips booked up into the mountains in Colorado where we can go and escape the heat. So, again, a beauty of the lifestyle, having this RV lifestyle, you can escape the heat and go and find the most perfect weather all year round.
Right. That's such a wonderful thing. No matter where you are in the country, if you're up in the Dakotas, you can always head south to Texas. If you're in the Northeast, you can always head south to Florida. Of course, this being during the winter, and then vice versa. When you're in Arizona, Texas, you can always head up to Colorado or up to the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, whatever it be, and just chase the temperature that you need to get your soul rejuvenated, right?
Absolutely. I actually believe there was a weatherman who mapped it out on the map, the United States map, and he looked at where the perfect temperature is all year round. And there's this gorgeous loop that you can just take where you're basically in 70-degree weather all year round because that's just the
Wow.
average temps. It's kind of a cool concept.
That is fantastic. And being a full time or an avid RVer yourself, you've got to have some great strategy and tips for simplifying the RV experience. What are some of the strategies that you use for simplifying, particularly as it pertains to packaging and meal plan?
Yeah, those tend to be the hardest points that I hear from friends because people know I'm very open about how much I love the RV lifestyle. And so I get a lot of questions from friends saying, "Okay, but I don't like to pack." And I get exhausted by packing up the RV. It feels like that's just a full-time job and I'd rather just pack a suitcase. But to me, I actually find packing the RV a little bit easier because you can take your time doing it. You can go and make sure you've got all of your creature comforts. You're not limited. Yes, you're limited by space, of course, and weight, of course, but you're not as limited to just a rectangle box, right? And so what I like to do is go basically room to room. And I like to look, okay, in the kitchen, do I have everything I'm going to need for cooking? Most of the stuff lives in the RV. I will say that we just very recently bought a new RV, and that was a whirlwind. But basically, having this organizational strategy made it so much easier. And I think I would have lost my mind had I not had this strategy in place because from the time we bought it, we ended up going to the dealership to go look at the RV we wanted 5 days before our trip. And this was a longer trip too. It wasn't a quick weekend trip. 5 days before the trip, we signed on the dotted line the next day. We traded in our old RV 2 days later, and we had 24 hours to unpack and repack the RV. And I was so thankful I had this strategy. So here's what it is. And go through, like I said, room to room, making sure I've got everything I need. Looking at the temperature, do my kids have the jackets that they need? Do I have the jacket that I need? I did forget my jacket one time. I will not do that again. It was very cold. And then just looking at all the fun things that you need. And so that's the stuff side of things. But then there's also the meals. And there's also day of packing. And so I like to break out my packing checklist so that I have all the items that I want to put into the trailer, make sure that we've got our sunscreen if it's going to be sunny. We've got, all the things that we need to bring those creature comforts with us, because that is one of the perks, I believe, of the RV lifestyle is you get to have those creature comforts. And then I look at the meals. Is there anything I can and want to prepare ahead of time? You don't always want to prepare everything ahead of time. That can feel like another full-time job. And so I plan out all of our meals just like I would do at home. And then I like to go through and just make whatever I can make ahead of time or not. If I choose to make it at the campsite, there's nothing wrong with that either. Sometimes it's fun. You're already in a slow down mode, so it's fun to cook at the campsite too. And then I always separate out our day of packing items. So things like phone chargers, toiletries, pillows. I'm very particular about my pillows. So I take the same pillow with me on the road that I would use at home. And so it's nice just to be able to grab those day of items, put them in the trailer or package them up, and then off you go. And you don't have to worry about forgetting those important things like contact lenses or phone chargers or something like that you'd want to have with you. And the same thing goes for in the truck. So we have a bumper pull. And so I feel like when I can pack things a little bit separately, I pack up the RV. That's for when we're at the campsite, but then I also pack up our truck. So I make sure we've got a basket of activities for our kids because, yes, they do take their tablets with them. I'm not totally against screen time on the road. I am against screen time at the campsite, but not on the road. And so they'll get their tablets, but those run out of batteries. And we'll travel for very long periods of time, for better or for worse. That's our mode of travel. So being able to have those activities in the car for them, I like to switch them up each trip, especially if it's going to be a 10, 12-hour drive, and being able to keep it exciting for them. So now whenever they get into the truck, the first thing they do is they look at their activities. They get excited about what new sticker books they have, or what new coloring books they have, or what new little games that they have. I have made the mistake of including a few too many sound games, like the Simon game that's like beeping at you all the time. But it's okay because they love it and they enjoy it, and we all get to pass it around, except for my husband, who primarily does the driving. He doesn't get to play because he's driving. But we pass it around, we have some fun with it. The Bop It game is really fun. So we like to switch up what activities we bring on the road, and then also what road trip snacks we bring, because snacks can be an activity too. That's what a lot of people don't realize, that your snack time can really be something fun too. So sometimes I'll pack up snacks and like little Easter eggs, and they can open up and see, oh, it's a unique treat that I haven't gotten before. And so then they have something fun to look forward to. And I can pass some Easter eggs throughout the trip. I can time it out so that there's this little milestone among a big milestone. So it makes the travel time a lot easier and a lot simpler for everybody.
Oh, fantastic advice. As you're speaking, I'm thinking back on my experiences of traveling with my own kids. And isn't that another blessing of the RV life? Because when you're not RVing, your kids are in an unfamiliar place, they're eating unfamiliar food. And so RVing just makes it so much nicer for family travel, for sure.
Oh,
Would you agree?
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's funny, on this last trip, one of the things that I do, like, I don't often go out to eat. And so, like, on my birthday or, on Mother's Day, I like to go out. I like to just not have to cook for the day. That's my only wish. And on this last trip, it was not my birthday or Mother's Day, but my husband said, why don't we go out for lunch? And I thought, you know what, actually, we've got some really good things back in the RV. Like, let's just go back. I don't mind putting some stuff really quickly together. So I just brought out some meats and cheeses and fruits and vegetables. And I'm like, this is the simplest lunch. And then my kids would come up and quickly nibble and go back out and play, come up, wash their hands, quickly nibble, go back out and play. And I thought, this is the life. Like, this is just simple and easy, and we don't have to worry about it all.
Right. And if you're in a restaurant, your kids may still decide to do that, but everybody else in the restaurant will be majorly bummed out and bugged by that, right?
Yes, exactly.
Oh. So great tips on how to prepare and things to do along the way. How about when you're after getting home? Is there anything that you do at the end of the trip to simplify life for the next excursion?
Yeah, so I kind of like to do a reverse pack. Whenever I have my RV packing checklist, I have a notepad. It's one of my products that I sell with Cruisin and Campfires. But what I'll do is I'll take the current sheet from that trip, I'll take it off, and I'll start the next packing checklist as soon as we get home. Because a lot of times what I've found when I forget things, it's because I've taken them out to wash them, for example, like marshmallow skewers or something that I didn't feel like scrubbing at the campsite. Maybe we didn't have a lot of water, so I saved it for when we got home, or little things like that. Maybe that's a terrible thing to admit. I don't know, but it's honest. It's what I do. And so being able to say, I took out my the hand soaps that we have because they need to be refilled, or I need to restock them. And so what I'll do is I'll take that out, and then I'll immediately write it on the checklist for the next trip. So I don't always assume that I have these things in there that typically live in the RV, but a lot of times can come out and need to be restocked. Or maybe, for example, one trip we had a skunk come to our campsite at night. It was so funny. We had just gone to bed, and my husband and I heard something outside, and I was like, oh, it's a bear. I want to go look at it. I love looking at the wildlife. And so we open up the window and see a skunk instead, and he's getting our pot holder that we had left next to our grill. And probably should have brought it inside. I know, I recognize that. But he was trying to just go and explore the pot holder. the skunk had slashed holes in it, which is actually kind of fun. And obviously didn't get anything. There was no food or anything on it. It was just to hold the hot plate. So it's not dirty, but it was all torn apart. So I ended up bringing that inside. And so when I brought the pot holder inside, I wrote pot holder on my checklist for the next trip because I wanted to make sure that we had a pot holder or like a trivet or something for the hot things for our next trip. And so it's just those little things that you just never, you don't want to always have to scroll them between your ears and have to remember them for the next trip, especially those things that you don't always pull out every single trip, but you do sometimes. And so you want to just make sure you can kickstart your packing for the next round so it's easier when you get to it and you're sure not to forget those important things.
That's such great advice as well. And one of the benefits of that immediately comes to mind is being able to sleep. Because when you don't have it on a checklist, all of a sudden, 1:30 in the morning, you're like, oh, I took the soap out to refill. I need to make sure to put that back in. And then you're like, I can't forget. And so you're up the rest of the night just thinking of
Right.
soap dispensers when you could have simply just said, no, I've already taken care of it. It's on the checklist. Either I already have it in the RV or I know that that's something that I need to put in.
Exactly. And it's also nice when you're working as a team, so a husband and wife team in our case, when you're getting stuff into the RV, we go and we'll manually check off what's been put in there. So I know if my husband put something in there, maybe he restocked the soap and I restocked the soap. Well, now I've got a lot of soap, and weight is always a concern when you're RVing. So now you don't overstock either. It works both ways. You don't understock or overstock. It's the Goldilocks rule, right? It's all
Yeah,
just right.
absolutely. And that segues nicely into the next question. We're limited, right, in our RV, either weight wise or space wise. Do you have any tips and tricks on how to maximize the available space that you have?
Yeah, I really like to use like little storage containers. So, for example, one of the things that drives me bonkers, and I think a lot of people do just based on all the memes that I've seen on Instagram, is fitted sheets. But having children, you need to have some extra sheets with you. I mean, and also just for yourself, because you never know. We travel with our dog too. Dirt gets in the RV. You don't want to sleep on dirt. So sometimes you want to change out those sheets and don't, you just want to be able to carry some extras with you. I don't need to justify why you would want to. But to being able to have a container where you can consolidate them, I've got one of those sheet organizers where it's just a box that we put all the sheets in. And now you don't have them just kind of flung around, and they're kept clean also because they're in that box. And so they're not getting all the extra dust and dirt on them either. And you can package those away. I also like to have a spot for everything. When everybody knows where to put things, it's a whole lot easier to stay organized. So we have a drawer just for our bags, like the reusable sandwich bags and things like that. We like to have a drawer for that. We have a container just for drinks. We like to have our morning coffee. Campsite coffee just tastes a little bit better. So we've got like our coffee maker. We use the AeroPress, but sometimes we bring the French press. We've got a space for that. Our water, always bring filtered water with us, our water filter with us so we can have lots of filtered water. So we just have a spot for every little thing. One of my favorite things, speaking of messy items or items that tend to get really messy, if you do bring plastic bags with you, like Ziploc bags, one of the tricks that I have found to keep them organized without having to bring that bulky cardboard box with you is to actually bring a toilet paper or paper towel roll, and you can cut it so that it just you roll up the baggies and you put them through that paper towel roll, and then they just stay consolidated. So you can just pull them out one at a time. You don't have to bring all of them on the trip, but now they're not just all over the bottom of your drawer, which can get really messy and hard to find. What size do I have? What do I need? All of those questions. So that's another little organizational thing that I like to do.
Very nice. And just from personal experience, starting out, we're kind of like, well, let's take this and let's Tetris it in, right? Oh, if this fits in there, then I can just do that. And then all of a sudden, okay, I need that. Where was it? And we're pulling everything out of the shelves to find that one item, and we've got a big mess. And then we've got to Tetris it back in. And so, advice well taken. Just using some simple storage containers, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to label them so you know what is in there so that when you are untetrising everything back out, you can remember. You don't have to remember, oh, this was in this back corner over here or up here. You have the labels there to make it clearer.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great advice. And then you mentioned that you've got a checklist online, part of your business. Let's talk about Roadpreneur. What is Roadpreneur? And also Cruisin and Campfires. What are those two businesses all about?
Yeah, so Roadpreneur got started primarily because I wanted more people to experience this feeling of being able to travel midweek unapologetically and have something that really lights them up inside. So often, what I've found is that fear shackles us to these traditional norms. And we will so often feel like, well, I've got to work the 9 to 5, and I only have 2 weeks then, if I'm lucky, to go out and explore. I lived in Denmark for a long time. There's no set limit on vacation days because that culture believes so wholeheartedly in experiencing adventure, going out and having fun and traveling. I think Americans sometimes lose sight of that just based on these traditional norms. And from what I'm hearing, and there's tons of studies around it, people are ready for that to end. Especially after COVID, they've seen the beauty of being able to have that freedom to work from home, but now also not have to be in front of a computer all the time. I work best in the morning. And so if I can get my work done and I'm done by 11, why wouldn't I want to go out and explore, take a mountain bike ride, go for a hike? Or there's people that work better in the evening. Why wouldn't they want to start their morning on the trail without having to run back to be on a Zoom call? So being able to, Roadpreneur really got started to really help people to lean into this lifestyle. And more specifically, I tried to teach all the businessy stuff for a while and I realized I was stretching myself too thin. I need to stay in my zone of genius. And so my zone of genius is using your voice to claim that dream. And that just means sharing your ideas, persuading people to know that, yeah, I've got something really cool here to offer. That can be really difficult for a lot of people. And it's one of the biggest hurdles that I found for people to say, I have this idea that I want to go start, for example, a stationery business like I have with Cruisin and Campfires, which I'll talk about in a second. I have this stationery business and I want to put it out into the world. That's hard to bring to your spouse. That's hard to bring to your friends. That's hard sometimes to put onto social media. And then where do you even get started talking about it on a website? And how do you make people interested in it? So that's what I really help people to do is understand how to use their unique stories, especially RVers. We've got so many really cool stories of adventures and people are drawn to that. So now how do you take that and use it to sell whatever that passion is of yours that can unshackle you from the desk and untether you from having to stay in a 9 to 5 job. So that's Roadpreneur in a nutshell. And then Cruisin and Campfires is the business where I'm walking the walk, where I'm actually implementing everything that I teach in Roadpreneur. So I'm not just someone who just says things, I'm doing it too. I'm right there alongside you. I'm linking arms with you as an entrepreneur, which is something I think we need more of. So Cruisin and Campfires is the business that I started to do just like what we were talking about, helping my friends who come to me and say, how do I pack? How do I make this easier? Because I want an RV. My husband wants to RV, or my kids want an RV, but I can't handle it. I need an easier way to hit the road. Cruisin and Campfires was born to make that job easier, to make it more fun so that, yeah, it's great when you're at the campsite, but the before and after can also feel fun and good and exciting and doesn't have to feel like it's stifling you from being able to have those experiences. So Cruisin and Campfires is where, yes, I have the packing checklist, an analog trip planner. I've got maintenance, setup, kids chore charts, a whole RV planning checklist so that you can see your trip in advance and have everything laid out. There's a lot of really cool apps that are available for this, I know, but I also know that sometimes you don't have cell phone service. And in those moments when you're on the back roads and you're like, oh, where are we going? What are we doing? This is not the time I want to lose service. That's probably the time you're going to lose service. So being able to have an analog approach to it is also really nice. And I also think there's a lot of beauty in just putting pen to paper. So that's where Cruisin and Campfires focuses, is just simplifying the RV life in a way that feels really good and easy and inspires more families to get outside. Because you and I both know, and I'm sure that all the viewers know, this is such a crazy, fun lifestyle. And I just want more people to experience it.
That's fantastic. So back to the Roadpreneur then. Do you just take people that are fostering an idea and help them through that, or do you take people that are also currently in a business that they're trying to run in an RV and help them expand an existing business?
Yeah, all of the above. So I really aim to help people to get untethered, like I said, from that 9 to 5, but also when you've been in it for a while, and I know this because I've been there and I've experienced this, when you've been in business for, a couple months, couple years, couple decades even, there's this constant cycle that we go through where we need to go and recalibrate. What am I offering? How am I offering it? How am I presenting this to the world? It can be very difficult to at every single season. So it can be very difficult in the beginning to say, this is what I'm doing. That's very nerve-wracking to claim that vision. A lot of people, you want to hit publish on that social media post and you want to just like go and throw your phone away and say, I don't want to look at any of the responses because I'm so nervous. But then that you can also feel that same thing as you're going through big pivots in your business. And you can also feel the same thing when you're offering something new, launching a new product. How do you talk about it? How do you share it? And my background is in copywriting. I've written for Fortune 50 companies. I've written for plenty of startups. And so I know how to tap into the psychology of that customer journey. I know how to reach people in a way through the writing on your website, through the writing in your emails, through your blog posts. I know how to reach people in a way where you can use your story, your experiences, and really use your voice. You're confident and clear in what you're sharing. And that will resonate in a way that makes it so it's hard to ignore you. People want what you're selling. And if they don't, they're still fascinated by you. They're like, that's pretty cool. It's not for me. But you know what? I know who it is for. I'm going to recommend them. So just being able to nurture this really exciting and enthusiastic vibe through your voice is what's going to get people wanting to pay attention. And not paying attention, well, then the rest is easy money because now people want what you got to offer.
That's so great. And just the thought of this is a very unique niche of RV and business. And it's not something that you can go to even the University of Phoenix and get an RV MBA, right? So, would you consider Roadpreneur is kind of that RV MBA program to help people meld those two together?
Wow. You know what? A year ago, I would have said yes. And now I'm really getting more focused specifically on the marketing element of it and using your voice element because there's a few reasons specific for the RVers. The reason number one is that we're off grid a lot. Sometimes we don't know if our internet's going to go out. We don't know how good the connection's going to be. No matter if you have Starlink or not, you could be parked underneath a tree. And then we all know that sometimes the signal gets a little bit fuzzy. So you can't always rely on a healthy internet signal, but you can rely on what you put out there in your email sequences, what you put out there in your blog posts, what you put out there on your website. So being able to give you that voice so that you can sell whatever it is you offer is uniquely important to the RV entrepreneur. It's uniquely important to the roadpreneur because these are people who need to have that backup option when they can't be on a Zoom call or they don't want to be on a Zoom call. Let's be honest. Not everybody wants to sit all day and look at a glass screen, but you're also seeing mountains and beaches behind you and you want to go and explore those too. So, it's offering that balance, right? And so I say not quite an RV MBA because there's a lot of other elements that, yes, I've done, but that's not my zone of genius. So like designing a website, I will refer you to a great friend who can teach you about website design, but that's really not my forte. And so I'd be doing you a disservice trying to teach that to you. Little things like that. I've got a great network of people who understand the RV lifestyle and who can help. So in a way, yes, I guess it is an RV MBA only because I've got those referrals. But my zone of genius in particular is how to use your voice so that when you're on the road, when you're off grid, your business is still working for you to generate this income for you, to help you to hear that cha-ching when you're on the campsite and you're able to go and continue to bring in the revenue. I do also help people find those ideas and refine those ideas in a way that will align with the lifestyle because a lot of the traditional, just as much as the traditional corporate world doesn't always align with the RV lifestyle, very rarely aligns with the RV lifestyle. A lot of semi-traditional, I guess now traditional, after a few years of moving businesses online since COVID, even those businesses don't always align. So like with Cruisin and Campfires, I could be tethered to my home office where I'm shipping things out and need to be home very quickly so I can get orders out. Or the way I can set it up is to offer printables. So they're printed on demand, or you get a downloadable so you get it immediately and you can use it on your tablet with your Apple Pen, or you can print it out at a campground, print it out at home, wherever it is. There's small little subtle shifts that we can make to ensure that our business aligns with our lifestyle. And I'm very capable of helping people with that too.
Wow. Thank you for the clarity on that. And it's beautiful that you're willing to say, hey, I'm not everything for everybody. This is what I'm really good at. And then going after that. Give us some specific examples of where you've inspired somebody in their entrepreneurial pursuits as an RVer.
Yeah, so I like to take a one-to-many approach whenever I can, because that is how you can get out from having to leverage your time for money. Leveraging time for money is probably the biggest hurdle that I've helped people overcome in the struggle of one of the biggest, let me back up and just say, one of the biggest ways that people get into entrepreneurship that lets them RV is through freelancing. And there's nothing wrong with freelancing. I have done it. I continue to do it for a select few clients because I love those clients. But freelancing is trading time for money. Even if you're working on a per project basis, you still have to give your time to deliver the end result. And you're sending one product to one client. The one-to-many approach, whenever we can take that and turn it into a one-to-many approach where you are able to go out and say, you know what, I'm really good. So for example, I went out and I said, I'm really good at copywriting. That's what people hire me for. I'm really good at writing blog posts. I'm really good at, helping with mindset shifts that can help you feel that courage to go out into the world and share your message. When you can see what you're really good at, what you're doing for clients, and then transform it into a different type of business, that's where magic really happens for the RVer, because now you're not on the hook to be on 24 hours a day. If your child gets sick, if you get delayed, have a blowout on the side of the road, and now you're not going to arrive home until tomorrow, you don't have to cancel all your meetings and feel overwhelmed with and burdened by your calendar. Now you have a backup plan because your videos are pre-recorded, your emails are scheduled to go out, and you can take a breath. You can also work when you feel the most creative. You can work when you feel the most inspired. We are not meant to be on 24 hours a day. We're not meant to be living in this 24-hour news cycle, actually. And we have so much noise coming at us. We have a smartphone at our fingertips that's just constantly dinging and giving us messages. We need to unhook ourselves from that sometimes and come up for air. And so having a business that will continue to run, even if you arrive at a campground and don't have cell phone service, or you do arrive at a campground and have cell phone service and think, well, that's a bummer. I actually want to turn this on to airplane mode. You can do that. You can do that. And it's okay, because now you've set up the back end so that your messages are still very strong. They're hitting people in just the right time in their journey with you, and you don't have to always be on. You can come up for air and actually be able to take that breath and enjoy the RV lifestyle. So the ways that I've done that, to answer your question more specifically, I get so excited about this. The way I've done that is by helping people to take their zone of genius and then find ways to turn that into a course, turn it into a membership, turn it into a product. I could sit on Zoom and walk you through your RV packing checklist. That would be such a waste of both of our time. But if I can offer you that printable, where now you have it, where you can use it for every single trip to do the packing and the unpacking, like we talked about before, now I've set you up for success long term. It's better for you and it's easier for me. It's available 24 hours on my website. I'm not available 24 hours on the website. And so that makes it so much easier for us to work together. I can solve your problem better. And also I'm creating space in my own life so I can have that creativity and really bring it to fruition in a way that's going to work better for everybody.
That's so genius and incredible insight on how to because really the RV life is about getting out and doing things and not being pinned down to that 9 to 5. It's a fantastic insight, Kimberly. How do people get in touch with Roadpreneur and Cruisin and Campfires?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So, of course, I've got my websites, roadpreneur.com and cruisinandcampfires.com. I'm also over on Instagram, love to get DMs, so come over and say hi and share with what you're working on with me. I love to get to know other RVers. On Instagram, I'm at Kimberly.Crossland, and then I'm also at Cruisin and Campfires. So I've got those two handles are my handles.
Fantastic. And anybody tuning into this episode, please check the show notes. We'll put links to all of these ways to get in touch with Kimberly and also to check out Roadpreneur and Cruisin and Campfires. So, Kimberly, I know that this may be an impossible question, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. If you could hone down to one big nugget of advice for anyone looking to jump into starting a business while adventuring, what would that nugget of advice be?
Yeah, it would be just to go and do it. Fail forward. Don't be afraid about having the perfect setup, the perfect business idea. You will learn so much as you go. And what I've heard from 100% of the entrepreneurs that I've talked to is that you will not do what you thought you were going to do in the beginning. So just put yourself out there, test things, listen, look at the feedback, look at the data that you're getting back of what people are resonating with, and then lean in that direction. The only way to get that data is to take action and to put yourself out there and to just go be brave and bold and do it and just do it.
Right. And know that there's not any loss in trying, right? It's a
Yes.
win-win. Either you succeed in that fantastic idea that you came up with, or you fail in that fantastic idea that you came up with and realize, well, hey, if I had just tweaked it this way, or if I had left that idea completely and gone in another direction, then the lessons that I learned along the way are invaluable. Uh, that's a
Absolutely.
great piece of advice, Kimberly. Thank you. So, for any of our convention attendees, is there any special offering that you have for anybody attending who wants to look into Roadpreneur and Cruisin and Campfires?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. I would love to offer 25% off either my courses over at Roadpreneur or any of my digital products over at Cruisin and Campfires. Just use the code RVC, RV Convention, RVC25.
Oh, that's terrific. Thank you so much, Kimberly. That's very generous of you. And again, anybody that's listening, check out the show notes on how to get in touch with Kimberly and to check out her businesses and what she has to offer. I'm sure that those that are looking to either start a business while they're RV adventuring, or that they've got an existing business but just need to have a different perspective to grow that success, please check her out. Thank you, Kimberly, for being part of the convention. It's been so insightful, and it's so wonderful to get to know you.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thanks so much, Kimberly. And everybody, stay tuned for more insights, stories, and tips as we continue our convention lineup. And until then, we'll see you on the road.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of RVCast. We hope you enjoyed hearing about our latest adventures on the road.
And don't forget, if you're itching to explore unique and interesting RV destinations, be sure to download the Curb and Turf app.
That's right, Curb and Turf, it's your go-to for finding those hidden gems off the beaten path. And hey, if you own property and you want to share your slice of paradise with fellow travelers, why not become a host yourself?
Absolutely. Just head over to curbandturf.com/start hosting to get started, or reach out to us for more information.
Yeah, and you don't want to miss a future episode, so be sure to subscribe to RVCast so that you never miss a beat.
Until next time, happy trails and safe travels.
We'll see you on the road.